Hello and welcome to Football League World TV. We've got another debate show for you this morning. My name is Sam Rourke and I'm joined by Ned and George from Football League World. Ned, how are we this morning?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. I think I've got a bit of that super cold that's going around, but other than that, not too bad.
Glad to hear you're recovering. George, how are you getting on?
Not too bad, thank you. Yeah, I took a bit of stick on Twitter the last 2 days for reasons that shall remain undisclosed. But yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, for anyone watching, if you haven't, please go to George Harbey on Twitter and take a look at his jeans. Some very suspect, it's got to be said. But less about the clothing situation with George Harbey. Let's talk about our debate show today. We're going to be discussing the surprise packages in each of the EFL divisions so far. Which teams have stood out so far for you that perhaps you didn't expect to do as well as they are, or perhaps they're not doing as well as you expected them to do. We're going to be going through each division and selecting a team and discussing exactly why. If you're watching this show on Facebook, Twitter or YouTube, we want to hear from you. Who are your surprise packages in the EFL? Send in your comments and we will get them up on this live show and discuss them. But let's start off with the Championship. As we said before the show, we're only 11 games into the season. It is still quite early on in the new campaign. But there has been a few surprise packages, it's fair to say, in the Championship. And Ned, we'll come to you first. Who are yours?
It's Blackpool for me, really. I mean, I think as impressive as they were late last season, often, a team that sort of gets promoted on the back of such a strong late season run is one that maybe... Well, I particularly had some concerns about how they were going to fare, and that's, I seem to be proven right slightly over the first few weeks of the season. I saw them against Bristol City on the opening day, and they were really, really lucky to get a result out of that, to get a goal, and a pretty lacklustre Bristol City team dominated them for long periods. But their run over the last month or so, I think it's 4 wins and a draw in their last 6. They're up to 12 now, and it's not just, they're not just beating the teams around them. They've got that, I think it was 2-2 against Bournemouth, 2-1 against Blackburn, and of course the 1-0 win against Fulham. It's just been a hugely, I think, impressive start to the season, particularly after, as I said, a sort of stumbling start. And the form's made all the more impressive when you consider that they're sort of without a few of the key players from last season, the likes of Daniel Bellard, Ellis Sims and Elliot Embleton returned home to their parent clubs after loan deals. Neil Crouchy has been without them, and yet I think Blackpool, they sort of, not quietly necessarily, but it's almost a shock. You look at the table and they're 12th, and you look at that form, and it's been remarkable what he's done at Bloomfield Road. And I'd be surprised if we don't see him sort of linked with a lot of bigger clubs over the next 6 months.
Yeah, it's certainly been a really impressive job from Critchley over the last couple of seasons. In terms of Blackpool, Ned, do you think they've simply just adapted to the kind of rigours and demands of the Sky Bet Championship over the last few weeks? It's kind of clicked, because like you say, it was a bit of a slow start, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it's as you said, I guess it is adapting to being without some of those key players, adapting to a new level of football, and also adapting, I guess, to a new mindset, because in that late season run, they really, they looked a team that believed that they could beat absolutely anyone. And you come up to a new level and suddenly they're the small fishes, as it were. But they now seem to have that confidence again, having claimed results against some of the, the bigger teams, the big hitters in the Championship, that they seem to really believe that they can beat anyone. And I think that's been key.
Yeah, absolutely. Get in the comments. Do you agree that Blackpool have been a surprise package in the Championship so far? Just lastly on Blackpool, Ned, just how important do you think Shane Lavery is for the Tangerines this season? Obviously, he scored, 7 goals now for the club this season. He did come off injured in their last game. But just how important do you think he will be for Blackpool this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think a team that's top priority really is going to be about survival. They're 12th now, but I think, as you said, we're only 11 games into the season. Having a consistent goal scorer is so important. Down there, as it is anywhere, but particularly down there, often when wins and draws can be really so often separated by 1 or 2 goals, and Lavery's managed to sort of well, he's been the main man for them. And as I said before, losing Ellis Sims, who helped to fire them to the Championship, was a blow. But Lavery's helped them, the fans, sort of forget about him.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, there we go. Blackpool, the Ned's surprise package in the Championship. Let's come to George's next. We're already getting a lot of comments coming in from YouTube from a certain fan base in the Championship. I did expect that to happen. And George, I think you're going to make them happy here, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to make Vinny happy here. Yeah, my pitch Coventry. Simply because, I mean, no one would have expected the start they've had to the season, apart from, he says, Coventry fans, a couple of them. Obviously finished 16th last season, did well, finished the season strongly under Mark Robbins. But, I watched them on the first day of the season against Forest, and I wasn't blown away by them. But then again, it's only the first game of the season for a reason. But since then, they've been tremendous. And I think, first and foremost, I think a lot of people expect them to have a bit of a bounce at home, obviously returning to, not the Rico, but the Coventry Building Society Arena after so long. And obviously the return of fans mixed in with that. The atmosphere on that day at Forest, against Forest, was absolutely tremendous. And I'm sure it's obviously maintained since. So I expect them to have a good home form, but they've won each of the 6 first home games, which is just tremendous. And you consider the teams they faced as well. Obviously, they faced Fulham, scored 4 goals in the second half against Fulham, who are, one of the best teams in this league. Obviously, they played the likes of Cardiff, Forest, Borough, and Peterborough, who are, Borough, Forest, and Cardiff are all big clubs, and I hope to be fighting towards they're out towards the end of the season. So if they can sort out their away form, because obviously their away form has been the one that's somewhat let them down, they lost big at Luton, etc. They could really mount a serious push promotion this season. Obviously, the home form's carried them so far. So if they can just start, I mean, the saying is get your wins at home and points on the road. If you can keep up that mantra going forward, then it'll be such an enjoyable season. I'm sure it already is. But testament to Mark Robbins, what a job he's done, like Vinny just said there as well. So real surprise package, and from a Coventry perspective, hopefully it continues.
Absolutely. I mean, we're looking at, in terms of standout players in that Coventry City side, I think it's only fair to come to Victor Gyökeres at the start of the season, that he's had 9 goals in the Championship so far this campaign. George, just how impressed have you been with him? I guess you could kind of put him in the same bracket as Coventry City. I suppose he is a bit of a surprise package, given he didn't necessarily have the most prolific form prior to his move to Coventry. No,
obviously it was a bit of an up and down season from last season at Swansea and then Coventry. I mean, I did a bit of work on him this morning, and it looks like, although he only got 3 goals in 18 or 19 games, it looked like his performances were really impressive, and especially towards the back end of the season, hence why they got him on a 3-year deal in the summer. But again, a season of surprise packages. Gyökeres, 9 goals in 11 games. I think it's 7 in his last 6 as well, including braces against Peterborough and Fulham. What a player. And it just shows you what confidence can do. I mean, Coventry, scrapping for points in the last season, trying to stay afloat. Confidence isn't bound to be that high, but when everything's going right for you, it just proves that players like Gyökeres, who have obviously got a pedigree and quality, will step up. And the service they provide as well. It's not just, I mean, Gyökeres is a fantastic finisher, but the service to the wing backs provide, and Callum O'Hare, it's such a good team to watch. And I expect them, a bit like Barnsley last season, to keep on going, because their style of football is really impressive, and they're blowing some teams away at the moment. Yeah, absolutely. It strikes me that they've got a real balance in that side now, in terms of kind of the strength and depth they've got in each position now. I think the wing backs in particular, George, have been quite pivotal for Coventry this season. Fankay Dabo and Ian Maatsen, they've been quite crucial, really, haven't they? Yeah, definitely. Maatsen was a really good sign in the summer. I think a lot of Chelsea fans had a lot to say about him. Obviously, scored that wonder goal against Fulham, but very good going forward, and not just going forward as well. I think wing backs nowadays, obviously, the onus is on them to kind of provide so much width and attacking threat, but going defensively as well. I don't think they've conceded the goal since I think they've conceded 2 goals at home this season or something like that. They've got a really good defensive record at home, so that's testament. And then obviously Dabo on the other side was influential when they won promotion from League One, and he's obviously come up leaps and bounds since and made the step up with ease. Obviously got Junior Da Costa, who was there as well, who's a good player, but Dabo's performance really really been impressive. So every area of the pitch, you look at midfield as well, Hamer, Kelly, Sheaf, they've got depth everywhere, like you said. So again, people will say, have they got the squad to cope with the promotion push? But I think they have. And I think that's exciting for Coventry going forward.
Yeah, I think it's also worth kind of shouting out Simon Moore in goal. He perhaps doesn't get the plaudits that a lot of the other players do in that side, but he's been very, very solid in between the sticks for the Sky Blues this season. Do you agree with George Harbey here? Are Coventry City the surprise package in the Championship? We had a few more comments come in. 3 conceded at home. All of them have been goals to take the lead, and we have come back to win those games. There we go. It shows that Sky Blue side has got a lot of character within it. Hats off to Mark Robbins and his side. As we stick with the Championship, another comment from Alfie Burns on Facebook. Huddersfield Town got to deserve a mention, predicted to be bottom 3 and they're sitting 7th. Sorba Thomas, a surprise package too. The new Gareth Bailey, of course, did play for Wales last night. Ned, do you think Huddersfield Town are worthy of a mention in this show?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think last season there were quite a few people that were pretty happy to throw some pelters at Carlos Corberán. You know, he obviously came under this thing of being, you know, Marcelo Bielsa's right-hand man. I think a lot of people were quite happy to see him stumble a little bit because people have been bored about sort of maybe the media loving Bielsa, as people seem to think. But, you know, this season he deserves a huge amount of credit. He made some signings which I think some people felt were quite strange and that they didn't seem to fit exactly what we thought he wanted to do. But I think he's proven everyone wrong, and that he deserves a huge amount of credit, and so do his team. I mean, you know, Sorba Thomas, what a player he's seen since coming from non-league.
Yeah, he's had a great start to the season, and as have Huddersfield. Right, that concludes our look at the Championship. We're now going to move down to League One. So, Ned, we'll come to you first. Who has been your surprise package in League One this campaign?
I mean, I think the team has surprised me really, and this was probably for the expectation that I had that they'd make a slow start. Is MK Dons. You know, obviously they were impressive last season under Russell Martin, but they lost him to Swansea sort of so close to the start of the season that I couldn't really see any way that there wasn't going to be a sort of bleak few months where they sort of got to terms of life under Liam Manning. I thought it was quite a big risk bringing in someone like him without a huge amount of senior management experience. But that risk is certainly one that's paid off. As I said, you know, Russell Martin, he's got this such a unique style of play, that heavy focus on playing the ball back, you know, the build-up, that I felt like a change in manager was really going to take a lot of time to get used to. But credit MK Dons, credit the players, credit Liam Manning. They've been for me, have made a really strong start to the season and absolutely deserve to be considered among the true promotion contenders now in League One, even though, I mean, there are sort of quite a few. You know, 2 wins over Wycombe in the last few weeks is telling enough, because I think if you finish above the Chairboys this season, you're probably going to be at least in the playoffs. You know, I think there's so much to like about them, particularly the likes of Scott Twine, Matt O'Reilly, Troy Parrott, some really exciting young players to watch. And I think MK Dons really, yeah, they surprised me. As I said, I thought it was going to be a bit of a painful transition period, but it's been anything but that.
Yeah, it's been seamless, hasn't it? I mean, whenever you kind of look at managers and the turnover of managers, you often kind of come back to Barnsley, don't you? The way they've done it over the last few years, where managers with the same philosophy have just come in and kind of taken the reins, and it's almost as if nothing's changed. And you kind of get that vibe with MK Dons, don't you? Ned, we'll just finally on MK Dons. You mentioned Scott Twine there. His ability in terms of long range goals is something special, isn't it? I mean, he's obviously stepped up to League One level. I mean, just how impressed have you been with him so far? He has already his kind of highlights reel in League One this season is pretty special, isn't it, in terms of the goals scored he scored?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you were making sort of, I guess, 2000 style YouTube compilation of Scott Twine, you'd have an absolute dream, because, you know, some of the long range strikes he hits, and also just some of his footwork and the passes he plays are just glorious. As you said it there, it seems like every challenge that's been put in front of Scott Twine, whether it was, you know, the loan spell away from Swindon, bring ball back to Swindon, and now stepping up sort of MK Dons, he seems to step up to that challenge. And I do think he's a player that we probably won't see in League One next season, whether that's going up with MK Dons or another club sort of taking a chance on him.
Absolutely. I suppose MK Dons as well, they've got a lot of firepower, a lot of options in the striker department. Max Waters, Mo Isa, Troy Parrott, like you said, there's lots of players there that can score goals at League One level. Right, that's Ned's pick. MK Dons, the surprise package in League One so far. Right, we're going to get George Harbey's next. As ever, if you are watching this show, please send in your surprise packages across the EFL in the comments, and we'll get them up on this live show and we'll discuss them. But George, who are your surprise package in League One so far?
I've gone with a surprise package, but probably for the wrong reasons. I've gone with Charlton as a team has really surprised me in the sense that I thought they'd be, a hell of a lot better than what the start they've got off to. I think my thoughts on that is because of last season. Obviously, Johnny Jackson took caretaker charge, and Nigel Atkins took the reins. I think Charlton finished the season really strongly at a time when their playoff push looked to be dead in the water. Really. I think they're about 12th when Atkins came in, and they lost one of the last 15 games under him at the end of last season. I think the only loss they had was that stoppage time defeat to Peterborough as well. So, he really turned things around towards the end of last season. He made a playoff push possible when it looked, as I said, dead in the water, and only obviously finished out on goal difference. And you look at the squad they've got now, and I mean, I know they lost a couple of loan players, but they made Jaden Stockley permanent. Obviously, Chuks Aneke went to Birmingham, but it's a very similar group of players, and they've obviously recruited quite well this summer, it looks like, when you look at it on paper. But, they've got off to a torrid start. Obviously, sit 21st. I mean, they've won last time out against Fleetwood, which is only the second win of the season. But, the pressure's been on Atkins of late. I know Marcus, our writer, has been very unhappy with Atkins and wanted him gone. So I just think from when they were last season, it looked like they were in such a strong strong position in the last season. And I think that even though they missed out agonisingly on goal difference, I think a lot of fans heading into this season were quite positive. And as I said, they kept pretty much the same group of players. So, I mean, it remains to be seen whether they turn things around on Atkins. I mean, they'll hope to pick up from where they left off after the win at Fleetwood, but it's easier said than done. So, they'll need to be back up in the top half as soon as possible, really. Otherwise, there'll be no playoff push this season, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, we were guilty at Football League World for tipping Charlton Athletic to finish in the top two before the season when we did our pre-season predictions back at the start of August. And as I said, kind of off air, it is very much early doors in the season still. There is a lot of time for Charlton to turn it around, but it's been a very, very shocking start. George, just finally on Charlton, that loss to Bolton in particular stands out for me, that 4-1 defeat at home. George Douglas was there, one of our writers, and he said it's one of the most toxic kind of atmospheres he's seen from a home support kind of lots of Adkins out chants from all of the stands. Were you surprised that he did keep his job, George, after that defeat in particular?
Yeah, I was. I think any 4-1 defeat at home puts a manager under pressure, but especially the manager defeat as well. I mean, they looked fairly comfortable at half time, 1-0 up, and then it just completely capitulated. Or I think it was 1-1 actually. Sorry, but they capitulated, and I think that, as I said, a lot of fans just expected that to be it. That to be it for Atkins after that. But obviously, they went to Charlton and grinded it out, and obviously got a late win there. So, I mean, you've got to win your home games. If you want to mount any form of promotion push in any league, you've got to win your home games. As I said before about Coventry, if you win your home games and pick up away points on the road, then that's a normally good recipe. But they've only won one at home, and I think that was against Crewe. So they really need to turn that around, because ultimately that's where most fans are going to see you every week, and that's ultimately where most fans are going to judge you every week. Because as I said, you've got to win your home games, and it's the fans pay the money after so long away from stadiums to win games. So. As I said, they've got some tricky fixtures coming up when they travel to Lincoln, and they travel to Sunderland as well. So, but then you look at the home games, they've got Accrington, Doncaster. So it is really going to be down to the next 2 weeks. I don't think that win at Fleetwood's relieved all the pressure off him. I think they've got to keep going now, which is normally quite a hard thing to do in League One.
Absolutely. I think there's a few clubs you could have selected in League One for surprise packages. I think Worthy mentioned needs to go to Plymouth Argyle. They currently reside at the top of the League One table after a stellar start to the season under Ryan Lowe. Ryan Hardey and Luke Jeffcott in particular have been in fantastic form. Ryan Broom as well, on loan from Peterborough, really standing out. It's been a cracking start for the Pilgrims as they currently sit at the top of the table. So well worthy of a mention, in my opinion. Right, let's touch on League Two last up. Right, Ned, we'll come to you first. Who's been your surprise package in League Two this season?
It's Sutton United for me. I think having come up last season, I think this is their first ever season in the EFL, and I had real concerns really whether they had the quality in the squad to really establish themselves. And the first few weeks of the season, that they look to be a team with a lot of fight, but maybe, as I said, not the ability to really go toe to toe with teams. But that they've proven me wrong, really, that they've really shown that they can compete at anyone at this level, and they picked up that confidence of winning games, and that's sort of started a bit of a snowball effect. And I think obviously a big part of that was being able to play at home again after having their pitch relayed and starting on the road. But more than that, one of the things impressed me the most is the fact that they're not a team that's really heavily reliant on that one star player. Often I think, a team comes up and that they've got a striker that can hammer in the goals, or a defender that's sort of dominant from set pieces or whatever. But this team, they're really more than the sum of their parts. And I think you would have found anyone that would have predicted that they'd be up and around the playoff places 11 games into the season. And I think they deserve a huge amount of credit for that. And they'll continue to surprise if they continue to play the way they have. And I'm interested to see whether they can keep that form up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's 5 wins in Sutton's last 6 League Two games, which is some feat, isn't it, for a team that's kind of going through their first ever EFL campaign. Let's just touch on Sutton's result on the weekend. A fantastic game at Ganders Green Lane, 4-3 to Sutton United, a last-minute Kobe Rowe winner to secure the points for Sutton United. I mean, that showed an element of character, because there was a few times during that game, Ned, where Sutton were behind and they had to claw it back. I mean, that just goes to show, what Sutton are all about, doesn't it? That result.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as we said, I think that fight and determination, that desire has been there since the start of the season. But it's now sort of, I guess, combining it with that confidence of them feeling like, no, hold on a minute, we do have the quality to really go toe to toe and beat anyone at this level. And you've seen that with the sort of, the amount of times that they've been able to put these results together where they put 4 past teams, and that's not really what we're surprising. And it wasn't exactly like this was, that they were beating some team lower down the table. It was a Port Vale side that started the season really well. And yeah, as you said, that's a real sign of just how far they've come over the first few months of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just finally on Sutton, I spoke to Matt Gray, the Sutton manager, before the season for Football League World, and his kind of main objective was simply just to stay in League Two. But right now, it seems like their ambitions and objectives could well be shifting, given where they are in the table. They're currently 7th position in the playoff spots, which is a fantastic achievement for Sutton United. Right, George, let's get your surprise package next. All right, George, what is your surprise package in League Two so far?
I was very close to going with Harrogate, to be fair, but I've gone with Hartlepool United. Naturally, I saw a lot of them in the National League last season, and they were really good. They're a really good team under Dave Chardonnay, who's a good manager for the non-league and lower leagues. But I was really concerned about them heading into this season. I mean, the 2 lads they had up top, Rhys Oates and Luke Armstrong, both scored above 14 goals nationally last season, really spearheaded them to promotion. They both left. Rhys Oates went to Mansfield, and Luke Armstrong, who was only on loan from Salford, ended up going to Harrogate, but Hartlepool did want him on a permanent. They were very close to losing Jamie Sterry as well to Notts and Sunderland, other clubs. So obviously, naturally, I was worried about the 2 main men who'd helped them get back into the Football League had both left, and not even to, with all respect, big clubs, Mansfield and Harrogate are both likely to have similar aspirations to Hartlepool going into this season, but they've been tremendous. I mean, their away form's been quite patchy, but we talk about Coventry's home form, and they've picked up 16 points from possible 18 at home. They've won 5, drew 1. So, the atmosphere at the Victoria Park is fantastic, and we talk about momentum taken from promotion and going into a new league. They've really carried that. My only concern about them is probably going forward. I mean, Tyler Bury looked to be their main man. Going forward, I think he scored 3 goals in 5 League Two games, but he's been injured for a while now. But it seems like they've got players chipping in from goals from every aspect of the pitch. So, I really expect them to go on now and form a good push for promotion, really.
Yeah, just on Hartlepool and Sutton. Do you think, George, that obviously these two sides came up from from the National League last season? Do you think the gap in quality is maybe kind of getting smaller? Do you think, because obviously we've seen the likes of Harrogate Town really impress in League Two. Barrow obviously stayed up last season as well. Do you think the kind of the gap is kind of depleting a little bit?
Yeah, I mean the 4 National League teams who've come up, Barrow, obviously Harrogate, and then Hartlepool and the other one, at the minute, they're all top 12 at the minute. And I think that when you look at the National League, not many people want to, which is probably natural. But you look at the likes of Wrexham and Stockport, they're spending massive money. Notts as well. I mean, naturally, I've had a close eye on it, and I don't think that there's much of a gulf in quality at all as well. I think if Wrexham came up, I think there'd be more than competing for a place in the top 3, as well as Notts and Stockport and Grimsby as well. And I think that's also shown evidence by Lincoln as well. I mean, Lincoln obviously a few years ago now came up from the National League. Obviously had a good season in the FA Cup, but were brilliant in the National League. Came up, finished in the playoffs, and then went one better, and they've gone on to fly. Luton did the same a few years back as well. So, I talk about momentum, and I think Hartlepool, after waiting so long to get back into the Football League after 3 or 4 years, once you have that feel-good factor at the club and the fans feel it, and you can make your home ground a fortress, it goes a long way. So I think that, as I said, if Hartlepool can find a goal scorer or a regular source of goals, then I've got no doubts they'll be up there, because, as you said, momentum and that camaraderie and spirit after achieving such a good thing is so evident to see sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Both sides, Sutton in 7th right now and Hartlepool in 8th. It's been a cracking start to the season for them in League Two. I suppose a few worthwhile mentions you could have said. Obviously, you spoke about Harrogate Town there. They've had a cracking start to the campaign, 2nd position right now. They've only lost 1 game all season. And of course, Swindon Town as well. Again, they were in our pre-season prediction tables on Football League World, doomed to the bottom 2. That's where we predicted them to be, where they currently sit in 3rd position after a really strong start to the season under Ben Garner, which is good to see. Right, well, that concludes this debate show on Football League World TV. Ned, George, thanks for joining me this morning. Thanks for everyone that watched and sent in all your comments. We do appreciate it. We've got a Millwall takeover show later on this afternoon. Ned, you're going to be hosting that one. And we've also got another debate show at 4:30 this afternoon with George Douglas. We're going to be discussing Mick McCarthy and his future at Cardiff City. So well worth tuning in for sure. Please do subscribe to us, FLW TV on YouTube as well. We do appreciate all the new subscribers. But once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.